Yes, sir.
Yeah, you and I, Scott, thanks very much for everything. We spoke earlier, and so privately we spoke about the most powerful lobby group in this country. The only one that's the lobby. Oh, sorry, excuse me. And so yeah, we had a chat earlier outside myself and Scott, and we spoke about the most influential lobby group in this country, which is the American-Israeli Public Affairs Committee, AIPAC.
Well, I mean, we need to, if you're going to solve a problem, you can't solve a problem until you've identified the problem. If you're not honest about the nature of the problem, any solution you come up with isn't going to work because you're solving the wrong problem. Iraq is going to be a horribly complicated problem to solve. There's no magic solution. There's a lot of facets to this problem. One of these facets is the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, and as a direct correlation, our country's relationship with the state of Israel. And derived from that is a very powerful political lobby here in the United States that influences our policymakers on behalf of the state of Israel. AIPAC is the name of this lobby. Now, I'm going to say I'm somebody who's traveled to Israel many times. When I was a weapons inspector, I was the senior intelligence liaison between the United Nations and the state of Israel on the issue of Iraq and disarmament. And I have a great respect for the professionalism of the Israelis and for the humanity of many of the Israelis. And I have a great condemnation for the policies of the Likud. Just like I love my country and I love America, I condemn the policies of George W. Bush. I'm a supporter of the state of Israel's right to exist. I'm somebody who acknowledges the humanity of the Israelis, and I want them to peacefully coexist with the Palestinians. But there's people here in the United States that will use the promise of America for their own corrupt political gain. We call those the neoconservatives, and we can trace some of these policies to the Project for a New American Century. Yep. Well, look at the Project for a New American Century's dictates, who wrote them, and the same people who advised the Likud party in Israel. It's the same group. These are the same people who advise AIPAC, who are members of AIPAC, who put the pressure on American congressmen and women. I used to go to Congress and go around and brief congressmen and women and senators on the issue of Iraq. And right behind me would come an AIPAC delegation. As soon as I left, in they come. And they'd give the hard sell. They'd say, Ritter, he's only one voice. There's many other voices out there. You got to listen. But they said, yeah, it made sense. They said, yes, but you're up for election. And Ritter doesn't have money. And there's the problem. It's a problem that's tough to say, because if you speak out against AIPAC, you speak out against Israel, you're called anti-Semitic. People will play the Holocaust card against you and say, oh, then you're turning your back on the 6 million who died. No. Just like if you speak out against the policies of George W. Bush, you're not un-American. If you speak out against the policies of AIPAC, doesn't make you anti-Israeli. It makes you pro-Israeli, because I would like to believe that anybody who supports the state of Israel, believes in the humanity of an Israeli citizen, believes the only way that they can continue to survive is through peaceful coexistence with their Palestinian neighbors and their Arab neighbors. So a true supporter of Israel is somebody who believes in Israel's disarmament and Israel's peaceful resolution of its problems on an equitable basis with its Arab neighbors. That's a supporter of Israel. We need to isolate AIPAC and make people understand that they don't speak for Israel. They speak for a power elite who are using the Israeli political card for their own gain here in the United States. Our war in Iraq is an extension of some of the policy, the political pressures placed by AIPAC on our representatives, American representatives in Congress. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. As we are once again in the situation between the league and between them, and showing very little difference, but yet this no longer exists. Aren't we in a better position of taking the man who might flip-flop versus the man who never speaks as we're staying the course and will not say what Costa didn't say? Because this question is very relevant, because we have a split organization in that situation. We're split, so we have to take a position. We can't sit on the fence. What is your position?
My position is to vote for John Kerry to get George W. Bush out of the office. I'm always somebody who believes in putting a marker on the table. And it's imperative that we put a marker on the table so that John Kerry understands that while he may win the election on November 2nd, and I pray to God he does win the election on November 2nd, on November 3rd, he has a revolution he has to deal with. Well, a short one about Nader. Look, Nader's an American. He's a political force that needs to be listened to. And Ralph Nader should understand he's not going to win the presidency, and his continued involvement as a third candidate only helps Bush. In fact, take a look at where Nader's getting his money from, and it's a major Republican power. They help fund Nader so that Nader can sap carry strength. Ralph Nader needs to take a step aside for this election. And if there's people out there who truly support Ralph Nader, not only support Ralph Nader on November 3rd, but start getting people into Congress, into the Senate who believe in Ralph Nader's president. So that if Nader ever was elected president, he would have bipartisan support. I think I'm getting the signal. One question, or is that it?
One more.
We're done? Okay, one last question. So the gentleman.
Scott, you mentioned that you left Iraq in 1998. I'm wondering if you could talk about why you left and what that had to do with Operation Desert Fox.
Well, I left prior to Operation Desert Fox. I left in August 1998 because I wasn't allowed to do my job. The United States government intervenes no more than 7 occasions from November. Instead of supporting the inspectors, they fabricated a confrontation between the inspectors and the Iraqi government that had nothing to do with disarmament. They were inspecting at Ba'ath Party headquarters. When the Iraqi government said, yes, you can enter with as many inspectors as you want in accordance with established procedures, the United States sent the instructions that said, you have to reject the procedures. We enter, but we say we won't respect the signed agreement between the Iraqi government and the United Nations. When the United Nations made that statement, the Iraqis said, you can't come in under those conditions. Then the United States ordered the inspectors out. They weren't ordered out by Iraq. Iraq was all too willing to let the inspectors do their job. The United States picked up the phone and called Richard Butler, who was then the chief executive of the United Nations inspection process, and ordered the inspectors out without going through the Security Council, who really controlled the inspectors. Then the United States turned around and used this so-called expulsion of the inspectors as an excuse to initiate military action, 72 hours of Operation Desert Fox. The first cruise missiles fired by the United States into Iraq didn't impact on so-called weapons of mass destruction facilities, but rather on 2 villas, one in Baghdad and one in Tikrit, that housed Saddam Hussein, or at least thought to house Saddam Hussein. Where did the United States get that intelligence? From the United Nations, who was monitoring the communications of Saddam Hussein, not because we wanted to track him, but we were looking for any insight on hidden weaponry. So the United States had corrupted the integrity of the inspection process. The Iraqis recognized this, so when the campaign ended, the Iraqis said, we will not allow the weapons inspectors back in, not because they're against disarmament. Let's remember what we now know. By 1998, Iraq had been 7 years disarmed. That all the weapons of mass destruction that we were trying to hunt down in 1997, 1998 had been destroyed in 1991. So there were no weapons to hide. When Iraq was obstructing the work of the inspectors, it wasn't because they were hiding weaponry. It's because they were concerned that the inspections had been infiltrated by the CIA and British intelligence to implement policies of regime change. And you know what? The Iraqis were right. Thank you very much.